Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Awards Gambit. I know it's been a few weeks since I posted a full video, but I hope you've been enjoying my shorts in the meantime. I know I've been enjoying posting them for you guys. Today, we're going to be doing our last video about Emmy predictions for a while, since they were postponed until January. And what we're going to be talking about specifically about the Emmys today is the writing and directing categories for comedy, drama, and limited or anthology series or movie. So I got 6 categories to cover today. I'm excited to talk about them with you, and let's get to it. Our first category we're going to talk about is Best Writing for a Comedy Series. The nominees are Barry for Wow, The Bear for System, Jury Duty for Ineffective Assistance, Only Murders in the Building for I Know Who Did It, the other two for Carrie and Brooke Go to an AIDS Play, and Ted Lasso for So Long, Farewell. What's interesting about this category is that there's no vote splitting, there's no double or triple nominees for any show. We have one from each show. Great lineup here. I enjoyed all of these shows. It's great to see the other two getting in after years of snubs. That's a hilarious show. All the rest of the shows were in Best Comedy Series. Last year for this category, we had Abbott Elementary win for its pilot. That was not nominated this year. It was snubbed, in fact. So with last year's winner out, we have room for a new winner. What I think is going to win right now is I'm going to go ahead and say Ted Lasso for So Long, Farewell, which is the finale, season 3, and supposedly the series finale. And the reason I say this is because Ted Lasso is definitely the Emmy's favorite comedy. It won Best Comedy Series last 2 years. It got 21 nominations this year. They don't have to do with vote splitting in this category. And I think that, especially since it's never won writing before, I think they might want to give it writing once before the show ends, and it'll be sort of sentimental because it's the finale, and I think that it's just going to go to Ted Lasso. I think in second place, I would say The Bear for System, just because The Bear is a popular show. Season 2 just came out, and that show does have good writing. And a dark horse, I would say, is Jury Duty for Ineffective Assistance. That show was so funny. I know it was very improvised, but that show has excellent writing, and it would be awesome to see that show win this category. Definitely a dark horse. But yeah, right now I'm sticking with Ted Lasso for So Long, Farewell. Up next, we have Best Directing for a Comedy Series. The nominees are Barry for Wow, The Bear for Review, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel for 4 Minutes, The Miss Pat Show for Don't Touch My Hair, Ted Lasso for So Long, Farewell, and Wednesday for Wednesday's Child is Full of Woe. And this is a great lineup here. Another category with only one nominee from each show, no vote splitting. The Miss Pat Show is the multicam nominee. There's always one multicam nominee every year. The rest of the shows are contending for Best Comedy Series. What I think is going to win right now is I'm going to go with The Bear for Review. I just think that The Bear, like I said, extremely popular show. I think that it's more of a directorial show than Ted Lasso is. I think it has really good editing, and that sort of goes along with the directing. And just when you're watching the show, you're just so intrigued by what's going to happen, where this is going to go. And I just think that they're going to reward the best directing, and that is The Bear for Review. I do think some other nominees could win this. I think that they could just give it to Ted Lasso for So Long Farewell because they love Ted Lasso and it won directing last year. I think it had less competition last year than it does this year. Um, I mean, I would love to predict Barry for WoW, but that show has been predicted to win directing at least two other times for each of its previous seasons, and it has never won, which is a shame because that show had some really good directing and WoW was the series finale, but I feel like people just didn't really pay attention to season four, and I mean, it's definitely a dark horse, but I don't think it's going to happen. And another dark horse would be The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel for 4 minutes, which is also the series finale. We got a bunch of series finales in here. It won for season one for directing, and I think that the series finale of the show is very well received. So I guess there's a small chance that the Emmys voters could be sentimental and give it to Marvelous Mrs. Maisel one last time, but I'm gonna stick with the bear for now. And that is who I would like to see win too. Up next, we're gonna switch to the drama categories, and we're gonna start with Best Writing for a Drama Series. Our nominees are Andor for One Way Out, Bad Sisters for The Prick, Better Call Saul for Point and Shoot, Better Call Saul for Saul Gone, The Last of Us for Long, Long Time, Succession for Connor's Wedding, and The White Lotus for Arrivederci. Really, really strong lineup here. I'm so happy to see Bad Sisters get in here. I love that show, and I'm happy to see the final season of Better Call Saul get 2 nominations here. As for who I think is going to win this category, I think this is definitely going to go to Succession for Connor's Wedding. Succession has won Best Writing for a Drama Series for seasons 1, 2, and 3 for each season's finale. This year they decided to submit Connor's Wedding because that was one of the standout episodes of this season. It was the most memorable, I would say. And I just think that that episode was absolutely incredibly written. The show and the season in general is just exceptionally written, and I think that they're going to give it to Succession for its final season, and I really don't think this is that close of a race. I will talk about very, very slight chances for upsets. I'll mention The Last of Us for a long, long time. That was also a very memorable episode. When it came out in the winter, everybody was talking about how that was a standout episode. And also The White Lotus for Arrivederci, because The White Lotus won for writing last year for limited series categories. And that is also an extremely well written show, especially that finale. So, I mean, The Last of Us and The White Lotus maybe in a distant second and third place, but I think that Succession is going to take this one. Up next, we have Best Directing for a Drama Series. The nominees are Andor for Rick's Road, Bad Sisters for The Prick, The Last of Us for Long, Long Time, Succession for America Decides, Succession for Connor's Wedding, Succession for Living Plus, and The White Lotus for Arrivederci. I definitely think that this category is a closer race than writing. We have 3 nominees from Succession, and Succession and other shows previously have not done well when they have 3 nominees in a directing category. Last year they had 3 nominees for directing and they lost to Squid Game, and it's happened to other shows too. Last year The White Lotus won for directing for limited series, but for right now I'm going to predict Succession for Connor's Wedding. Like I said, this was the standout episode of the season. It definitely was a lot more memorable than America Decides or Living Plus. Mark Mylod has been a director on the show since season 1 and hasn't won a directing Emmy yet. So it would be awesome to see him recognized. And this show, I would say the writing for the show is more memorable, but it also had an amazing direction and some really good long takes, really great shots, editing, all of it was just an amazing episode of television. And so I am going to predict that. But I would say in a close second is The White Lotus for Arrivederci. And the reason I say this is because I've said this in a few other videos, but The White Lotus and Succession have never faced off against each other, ever. And so I just feel like The White Lotus is being underestimated a little bit. I mean, Succession is, I think, going to have a really great win haul at the Emmys, but The White Lotus won all of the categories it was eligible for last year in limited. And I think if somehow the Succession episodes do vote split, I think it will go to The White Lotus for Arrivederci. And a dark horse, I would say, is The Last of Us for a long, long time. Because, like I said, standout episode of that show. And that show got 24 nominations. So that could possibly take it if the Succession vote splits and White Lotus doesn't win. But right now, I'm sticking with Succession for Connor's wedding. And shout out to Bad Sisters for getting in for directing. Love Bad Sisters. Up next, we're going to switch to the limited or anthology series or movie categories. And we're going to start with Best Writing for a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie. The nominees are Beef for The Birds Don't Sing, They Screech in Pain. Fire Island. Fleischman is in Trouble for Me Time. Prey. Swarm for Stung. And Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. This is a great lineup. I am pleasantly surprised to see 3 television movies in here. In the past few years, I feel like the television movie nominees have been overlooked in so many categories, and this year they've come back strong with a lot of resurgences in other categories. So shout out to the television movies, especially Fire Island. Loved Fire Island. As for who I think is going to win this category, I'm going to go with Beef for The Birds Don't Sing, They Screech in Pain. Beef got so many nominations. It got 13 nominations total. And the other show that got that many nominations, Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer Story, is not in this category. It was snubbed for writing. So I just think that Beef was an extremely well-written show, and there's no vote splitting. And I think that they're going to recognize the unique original concept that that show brought to Netflix. And yeah, I think that this one is not a super close race. I would love to see Fire Island win because that movie had excellent writing, but I just think that Beef is the most well-known program out of all of these programs, and it absolutely dominated in nominations, so I think Beef's going to take this one. The next category we're going to talk about, and the last category for today's video, is Best Directing for a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie. The nominees are Beef for Figures of Light, Beef for The Great Fabricator, Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer Story for Bad Meat, Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer Story for Silenced, Fleischman is in Trouble for Me Time, and Prey. This is a good lineup here. The interesting thing about this category is that the 2 most nominated limited series, Beef and Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer Story, both have 2 nominees in this category, so there is potential for vote splitting. But what I think is going to win as of right now is I'm going to go with Beef for The Great Fabricator. The reason I'm picking it for directing is for a lot of the same reasons I picked it for writing. Is just because it was the most popular limited series, in my opinion. It came out just a few months ago compared to Dahmer, which came out almost a year ago at this point. And I preferred the episode The Great Fabricator which was the penultimate episode of the show, because there was more action, more people in it, and I prefer that to Figures of Light because that was the finale, and I feel like that was quieter. It was mostly just the two of them, and it just, for me, the penultimate episode was more enjoyable, more watchable. And I don't think that either of the Dahmer episodes are going to win. I think neither of them are standouts, and they are both vote split each other. So I'm going to stick with Beef for The Great Fabricator. I think the first runner up, what could possibly upset if the two Beef episodes happen to vote split, is Fleshman is in Trouble for Me Time. Because Fleshman really overperformed in Emmy nominations. It got in for Best Limited Series, and Fleshman does not have to deal with vote splitting. So, I mean, that could win if Beef vote splits, but I'm gonna stick with Beef for The Great Fabricator. Quick shout out from Phoebe. She's been meowing a lot. I'm sure you've heard her recently in these videos, so just wanted to give her a shout out. Ooh, just being a little jerky here. Love you. So that concludes our Emmy predictions for writing and directing and our Emmy predictions for this summer. We're going to take a break for a while. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. You guys are the best. Just want to give you some heads up for what's to come now that Emmy talk is on pause for a bit. I'm going to do some Oscar predictions for next year's Oscars. A lot of the film festivals are happening right now, so we're getting some reviews in. A lot of things are changing, so I'm excited to talk about that. And I'm hoping to get to the movies soon to see some movies so that I can do more movie reviews. I've been working a lot, so I haven't gone to the movies a ton. But stay tuned. I'll be doing more shorts. So check out all the shorts I've been posting for whatever I'm watching. And so I didn't get any listener questions for the Emmys. So that's why you didn't hear any answered on here. But feel free to email those listener questions if you have any questions about the Oscars. You can email those to awardsgamut@gmail.com. And I'm happy to answer them on my first Oscar prediction video and many more to come. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Take care, guys. I hope you guys have a great week.